Hello and welcome to a very, very special episode. This is episode number 10 of the Long Island Daily Roast. I'm your host, Sally Oda,
And I'm your host, Gary Lombardi.
and today we have a
And
very special guest, Lon Blais, or
Blaze like fire.
Blaze Like
Blake,
Fire. So, Lon, introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lon Blaze. I am the owner of a small and budding company called the Neighborhood Angel. I live in Bayside, Queens, and generate work out onto Long Island. I'm radiating out. I've done jobs at this point for everywhere from Massachusetts down to Florida and out to Ohio. So
Wow.
if there's a call, generally I've been word of mouthing to those far reaches, not really advertising or marketing myself there, but I am reaching out into those by way of satisfied customers who recommend me to someone else.
And
yes.
and Lon, tell our audience a little bit, for the people who aren't in New York, how well the word of mouth tactic works here.
Well, very honestly, between things like Nextdoor and Facebook, usually specific groups too. It took me a little while to tailor to those, but uh, social media platforms are incredibly helpful. I would say Facebook and Nextdoor.com for myself have worked, and I know that they've worked for many other people who are trying to, the pandemic launched an awful lot of entrepreneurship
Oh,
out
yeah.
of just necessity, and they were inspired to do that. Very honestly, my success has gone on not only with clients but with other businesses. The business to business connections, because once you hear what it is I do, there are several businesses, and immediately someone would say, "You need to meet my friend who does this." And I've done this in networking groups, and I try and expand that circle out. I belong to a few. I visit as many as I can, chambers of commerce, that sort of thing. And when you have something that people need, and I seem to have stumbled into something that people really need, um, uh, the word gets out. I would say that the height of this, and the reason that I'm even sitting here with you today, is I would say right at the end of last year, probably the end of November, beginning of December, um, a notice went out on Facebook for someone looking for someone to do something. And the first five responses were, "Have you checked out that Neighborhood Angel guy?" First five. And I didn't know any of those five people, which I thought, I said, okay, now this is working. This is working well for me. And it's kind of what I'm trying to build on, just doing things like this. I'm building on what I've had. And what's wild is, for the longest time I sat, drumming my fingers, hoping something would come. And now, you know, worry about not having work. Now I worry about having work.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background. How did this idea come into fruition? How, you know,
Okay, I'm a retired New York City school teacher, and if I'm in a situation that if I sit on my butt, I have just enough money to live. If I want to do anything extra, if I want a better car, I needed to do something, and I kind of kicked around doing, several different things. I went to college to become an actor. I went to Hofstra. Matter of fact, they found me up in my high school in Massachusetts, and like an athlete, they drafted me, and I went to Hofstra. And I went there full scholarship, and I got out, which meant, of course, I was qualified to do nothing. Um, and then, I met the girl that I, eventually married, and couldn't support her on that, so I slipped into teaching, and I ended up being a New York City school teacher for nearly 20 years. And upon retirement, I just said, what can I do? One of the big things was, how can I get um, get a boss that will give me time off if I want to audition for things? And I said, well, the only way I'm going to do that is if I'm my own boss. And I have to tell you, I don't give myself time off nearly as much as I thought I was going to. This has really kind of kicked in. Um, the other half of this, and it's really the base behind the name, the Neighborhood Angel, is my wife was really, really sick. My wife has had a migraine headache every day of her life for the last 30 some odd years. Sometimes it lasts 5 minutes, sometimes it lasts 5 days, sometimes it's a level 2, sometimes it's a level 10. And I was growing very frustrated with this situation. We've been through everything from the most legitimate doctors to, witch doctors. And one day I had it. I went out in the backyard and had a very long conversation with whoever and whatever it is that is greater than myself. And I said, tell me what you need. Tell me what I can do to make this better. I promise. Anything you ask of me, I will do. And I'm not like a super God-fearing man, but I do believe that there's a place for everyone and everything in the universe. And I figured I would get some kind of answer because everything teaches you something. About a week later, my next door neighbor, who was an elderly gentleman, no longer with us, asked me, can you help me put away my patio furniture? And I said, sure. And my first thought was, oh, it's my first test. I'm being asked to do something. And I help him, and I help him pack it all up and wrap it up. And at the end, he goes to hand me money, and I went, oh, don't be stupid. And it took him 2 or 3 times to accept that I wasn't going to accept his money. And at the end of that conversation, he said, thank you, Lon, you're an angel. And I thought nothing of it. And then that same scenario played out like 5 or 6 more times. And every time people ended the conversation with, oh my God, you're an angel. To which I walked into my wife, looked at her, who by the way is getting better. And I said, hey Ma, hey, look at me. I'm the neighborhood angel. And thought nothing of it. About a month after that, a friend of mine became the executor of a will, unbeknownst to him that this was going to happen. He's a busy guy, didn't know what to do. He said, I know you do odd things here and there. Could you help me out? I said, what do you need? He said, I need to empty out my friend's apartment. He lives 6 blocks from you. I said, how long do I have? He said, you got 4 weeks. You got till the end of the month. And I said, well, hell, I can do anything in 29 days. So I started. And that's where I started to learn how to empty out a space. And I went in, and as I'm doing it, it's in an apartment building. There are realtors canvassing, and they go by and they go, oh, look at you. You're clean. You're moving. Let me give you my card. I went, no, not moving. I'm just, I've been asked to empty out the apartment. Oh, you empty out apartments for a living? First guy, I said no. Second woman, I said no. Third guy, I went, yeah, I do. And that's really when I started. And that's when it went from me doing things for free to me helping out people who were in a very tough situation. If you look at the 10 worst things that a human being can go through, dying and dying, any kind of death, sibling, child, spouse, these are all traumatic. And then moving is on the list too. And this is, in many instances, when I'm asked to empty a house, it's the result because someone has died. So they're going through 2 of these at once. Okay. And what I do is so many people at that emotional time don't want to get rid of stuff, because this was mom's stapler. I don't know if I can give up the stapler she had in her office. We good? So it seemed that I had a really good hand at being able to say, well, listen, you've got 500 things that belong to your mom. If one of them disappeared, do you think you would, honor and love your mom any less? And it seemed like I had a really good hand at gently handling a situation that's really difficult. The other thing was the services that do cleanouts and removals were insanely expensive. And I said, well, if I'm going to do this, how can I create a model that I become even competitive? And what I did was I found charities. I made it my point to go out and find charities that need stuff, not the Salvation Army and not, St. Vincent de Paul. And they're both wonderful institutions, but they have become, in their bounty, kind of picky. So you take pictures of everything in an apartment and you send them 30 pictures and they go, okay, we want number 1, number 17, 19, 31, and 38. And the rest of the stuff we're not interested in. So I found charities along the way that look for the kind of stuff that I have. Because many times, like, I'll get someone from a church parish who'll go, one of our parishioners had a fire. They've got nothing. And I'm like, come and take it. And the church will, give you a tax write-off. One of the main charities that I have now is something called WeDoGoodWorks.org. And they are to public housing what Habitat for Humanity is to housing, to homes. So this guy comes and he takes everything. So now you hire me to empty your house, and I get a charity to come with a truck and a crew, and that doesn't cost you anything. as the person emptying the house. It works really well, and then I can bring in other charities, and they can give you tax deductible slips. Not only you're not paying for a crew and that, I get these people to come in and take it. They do part of the labor for free. What you're paying me for is expediting, making that happen. Now, they, of course, don't get everything out of the apartment, so I have a guy that comes and takes books. I have a guy that comes and takes electronics. I have this organization. I have two organizations that take furniture. I have two organizations that take women's clothing. I have one organization to take men's clothing. And these are all relationships that I've established over the last 6 years or so. Also, you still end up with a bunch of stuff that no charity wants. Still pretty good stuff. So what I do is I have a list of what's now, I think, 163 people who I lovingly refer to as my piranha. I kind of go, hey, guys, next Tuesday I'm cleaning out a house. Come and get it. And if the paint ain't dry on the walls, they take that too. They just take everything, okay? And then in the end, what that leaves is just trash. Metal can be harvested, and metal guys will come by and take it for nothing. That doesn't cost you anything, but you don't know where that metal guy is, And then you have trash guys that come and do trash giveaway. In the end, the most expensive part of any home clean out is the trash. Everything else is pretty easy to get rid of. It's cool.
So let me interject a little bit.
Sure.
So this is an aspect of your business that you clean out houses when, from what I'm hearing now, is this when someone passes and the family...
No. When people move, people downsize. This time of year, some guy says to me, God, I want to clean out my garage. And they don't want to do it themselves, And very honestly, if your wife, your mother, both of you, hire me to do something, or you get me as a gift, I'm going to do what they ask to without questions, without problems, and you're not going to end up being the idiot son or idiot husband because I just do what they ask me to do. I remove an emotional level out of there. It works really, really well.
So do you also help pack and move?
Here's the deal. I always say in my business, I do everything that a husband or a son could do, but sometimes there isn't a husband or son. Sometimes they're in absentia. Sometimes the son lives, 100 miles away, lives in Chicago, and now mom needs this stuff because she's downsizing. Or mom has passed away and all the siblings have come from other towns and they need to get this house empty. They don't want to live there. They don't need any of the stuff. It might be a lovely dining room table that is in mom's house and now she's gone. None of them are going to take it to their homes. They all have dining room tables, but they're also not going to sit around and sell that in a garage sale or on a Craigslist posting. They need it gone.
Yeah.
I get it gone for them in either the cheapest and or deriving a tax deduction way possible.
You really got the pieces to the puzzle.
I used to do this all in the beginning, and this is a guy, I'm not young, and I used to take sleep sofas, upstairs, never mind downstairs, up sofas to get out of a house, me and a Sawzall getting stuff out. And I've now branched out that I have, basically, people that come in, day labor that help me in times when I need a second, and it goes much faster. And also, the better I do this, the more someone comes as, a subcontractor in a sense, and takes away the metal, takes away the charity. The charity is in a sense kind of a subcontractor for me. They come in with a truck and a crew. They don't ask me to lift the furniture. They come and take it themselves. What I get paid for is expediting it. It's win-win-win. The person hiring me to empty the home or empty a space is getting it done for less. People are getting free stuff, and I'm getting paid for making that happen.
You're the guy bringing it all together.
Right.
It's amazing.
And that constantly expands out too, because I can be knee deep in someone's garbage, and they'll go, "Hey, Lon, you noticed the sink down there kind of dripping? Can you do anything about that?" And my first response is no, but I know a guy who can. And now I have what I refer to as my band of angels, people who do the kind of things that people have asked of me, and that range of things is pretty wide. I was in someone's basement, basement again, cleaning out someone's garbage, and my client's daughter comes in crying that someone has ruined her wedding dress. Give her my wife's seamstress's number, and in 2 hours the problem was solved. the idea is that I try and the neighborhood angel thing isn't just a cute affectation. It's let's keep everyone calm because people get crazy in these things. And very honestly, people have had houses for 6 years just sitting in a stasis, after someone's death, and they just haven't done something with it, and they finally get enough impetus to move forward. Still good?
Yeah, we're back.
And they have enough impetus to move forward that they know that they should do it. They even know that they can do it. They just don't know how. And I come in and I kind of do a little hand holding. And I don't mean that pejoratively at all.
He's frozen in the middle here.
No, he's moving on my screen. We're good.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I got the recording here. So, where I'm thinking is, I get exactly what you're saying because we actually, I mentioned this earlier before we went live, but we had an organizing company come on the podcast, and I said this, that, you have all this stuff, even for somebody who, it's not a family member that passes or something like that. When you go, especially in basements, because in basements, there's people, really hide the thing that they don't want to look at right now.
Everyone thinks of this as, something that gets done when people are hoarders. And hoarders are a whole other creature together. And I've done that. But what is really happening is that someone who lives in a house in 50 years just hangs on to things because they might need it one day. And then they pile it. And then other things that they need to keep get piled on top of it. So they've literally forgotten what was back there. I've gotten to the back of closets, and it's like, oh, that's where that is. I've been in places, garden apartments, that had more in its attic than it did in the entire apartment. Because it's crammed Tetris style, because people get really good at fitting one more thing in a closet, one more thing in an attic, one more thing in a garage. I mean this in all the best senses of the term. I am a dispassionate third party. I can look at something and not go, oh, that was mom's. That's really important. And I've learned even over the time, my wife has a counseling background, and I've asked her a lot of times, how do I handle this? What do I say? Because, everything becomes sacred sometimes in these circumstances. And I don't even mean when people are, gone. Sometimes I'll go, oh, those are my kids' toys, and their kids are in their 40s, and I'm hoping they'll give them to their grandchildren. Their grandchildren don't want 40-year-old toys, but they won't throw them away either because it's dishonoring the children that they had, kind of thing. And I kind of learn, how to. Sometimes it's a matter of doing this over time. Some people can't empty a space in 2 days. Sometimes I've worked for people on projects over several months, a few hours at a time. Depends. Generally when there's a death involved, people can get a lot more dispassionate about things because we literally live in a time where people don't want as much of what was their parents as possible. The New York Times Magazine once did a great article called "No One Wants Your Parents' China," because everyone thinks, well, I don't want these classic, China plates, but no one else does either. They think they're going to sell them, and no one wants them. What I mean? I can't tell you the number of times I've had to bust apart China cabinets because no one wants them anymore.
So I think it's interesting to our audience now. How do you deal with someone that doesn't want to get rid of things? So they have an item that they're saving for their grandchild, and you're looking to clear the space. What do you do?
Well, what you do is, I've noticed, I had to empty out my in-laws' apartment in 2002, and you sort of, I knew that I didn't want things, but I couldn't bring myself to give them away. So we downsized theirs into a storage space, and then from a storage space into the garage of our new house, and then from there we gave it away in pieces and stuff. We kind of did in bits and pieces. That you don't always have that luxury. Sometimes, I've been called to say, I got called 4 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday and said, I need a house empty by Saturday at noon. And supposedly the client had gotten rid of everything. He told the realtor, I've gotten rid of everything. And he hadn't touched a thing because he couldn't bring himself to do it. So at a certain point, he kind of had to go away while I emptied the apartment because nothing was getting saved. It didn't need to be. Their tax records from 14 years ago, they
So
have no.
how did you get? You said your wife's a psychologist.
Well, no. As a counseling background, I'm not going to
Counseling.
elevate
So
credential.
so don't you have to get permission from the owner to get rid of certain things? And my question.
Yeah. Well, what
So
I'm saying, sometimes when I'm brought in, I can talk people down a little bit. Other times, it's just like they literally have to be taken away from the space. And I always say, if you give me the keys to your garage, I can get it emptied in 6 hours. But if you stay and help me, I can narrow that down to 15. Because people are like, oh, I don't know, and then they want to tell you the story of. I had one couple; they had a canoe. They were going to living.
Don't they get upset later on if you got rid of stuff? That's what I'm curious about. If you got rid of stuff,
what do you do with stuff that can no longer be in a house anymore?
Okay. Yeah, I just want. What the people.
That's what it is. If it could no longer be in the house because the house is up for sale, where could it go? And this is where the whole neighborhood angel thing came up. 9 times out of 10, people will have garage sales, and they'll get mad because people aren't honoring, the chest of drawers because it was mom's. Someone should want to pay, $500 more than it cost because it was mom's, and that can't happen. And it's really, you just sort of have to give them reality because they'll say, well, I want to sell it for this, and I'll go, fine. And I will put it on Facebook Marketplace for this, that, and the other. And I said, now that it's been here, let me show you something. And I will go on the other social media platforms, and I will show them a chest of drawers that's better looking, in better shape than the one they have, that someone is giving away free.
Yeah, you take that emotion out of it.
Yeah. By being that, I'm sometimes the messenger, and I have to tell you, sometimes they've killed the messenger. They fire me because I can't do it, because I can't do what they want. But no one can do what they want, And they go through a few more, and a couple of instances they call me back and they say, we see that it is what it is. Other times they hire someone else because they just can't look me in the face, and I totally get that, which is why at this point, something that I've learned is I've asked people, have you gone? I would like to underbid one of the bigger services. So if you're thinking of one of the bigger companies, I think you should get a price for them. But I want you to ask them these questions upon getting an estimate from them, because there are larger companies that will say, we will do this job for $1,500, and then day of they show up and they go, well, there's a staircase fee, and there's a bend in the staircase fee, and there's a disassembly fee. There is a fee for if a piece of any item is required to be carried by more than one person. You know what I mean? There's a wrapping fee, and I just empty the place. Do you know what I mean? I don't have any fees. So when I come in and quote a price, it's the price. I charge per hour because I don't like to be surprised, because people go, oh yeah, that back room in the attic, I didn't think there was anything in there. And then, they go, but you quoted me a price for the attic. It's like, no, someone gives me, 4 or 5 hours more work. I'm not going to go there, So I do a per hour thing, and then I'll go, and as everything adds into time-wise, I denote it the minute it's done, either with the client there or on the phone. I'll go, listen, I just emptied that back room in the closet. There's, look, here's, with the camera, here's all that stuff in there. This needs to go too. This increases the amount of trucks that you need to carry this stuff away, or we'll have to do a second dumpster or that sort of thing, so that everyone's right on top of the job as they go. There are aspects of this that aren't pleasant. It's heart-tugging, sometimes for the people involved. Even when they move, because, they're now giving up what they've known forever, or the people who are confronting, the aspects of an estate, that this is someone who's passed. Other people toss me the keys and go, I need to empty by Saturday. I have to tell you, I have the whole range. People don't get, I need it gone. I just need it gone. It's dispassionate, but it's, it's a much easier job.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. Yeah, it's, what it is? It's, I can relate to feeling that way. So when you're telling me these things, I said it to the last person on the podcast, and I'll say it here again. You know, I have that same passion for the things that I have, and I got to tell you, like I just moved into my new house 3 months ago. I just got a house around the block from where I used to live, so I could quite literally, take a hand truck and roll it to my new house.
Right.
During that process, I was so stubborn. There was things that from when I went to high school, you know, like old shirts. I just like the graphic on it. In my head, I'm thinking I'm gonna hang this thing up in my office. I don't have anything hanging up in my office, you know. But there's a whole box of this stuff downstairs, and it's a problem I have.
I will say that very honestly, that people move from house to house. They're really big on, and I can't tell you the number of times that I have been hired to move a set of stuff into a storage space, and 2 years later, I'm hired to empty that storage space.
So you know what, Lon? I was curious now. What sets you apart from other guys that do similar work or other gals that do similar work? What sets you apart? What makes them come to you?
For one, the aspect that I'm called the neighborhood angel, I bring in charities much more than these other jobs do. Not that they don't donate to things, but I use it as a part of my business strategy, that I try to get as much given away as possible. I try and ease this by incorporating things that they didn't think of. Many people think they're going to have a garage sale. It's like, I can let it go if I can sell it. Well, you can also, quote unquote, make money by donating it, by getting tax deductible slips and that sort of thing. And sometimes when people see that it's going to go have a second life, there's much more peace with that. I have had people come, like I said, past the charities, I have the pickers come, and lots of times I'll get the homeowner and the person taking their son's bed. Their son's now in their 40s, and it's the twin bed that they never disassembled and never broke down the kid's room. They'll take it. I'll create a relationship between the person taking the bed and the person who's had the bed, and they'll even do things like send pictures of the bed now in the new home serving its purpose. And there, people are like, "Oh, that's really nice." The whole idea is to like diffuse emotions a lot of time, not remove them. Diffuse them.
Now the pickers, that actually benefits you because if they make money on some of the stuff, your service is free.
Right. I'm basically providing people free overhead. Like I have a guy that comes and takes furniture, and if he doesn't get my emails, he doesn't get free furniture. If he doesn't get there first, he doesn't get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've set up a way that people will come quickly to these things because they know if they're not the first ones there. I always tell the homeowner, there are guys that harvest metal everywhere in the country. They just drive around in trucks and pick up big hunks of metal, and they scrap it, and that's how they make a living. And generally, you'll see ads on Craigslist that'll say scrap metal, and that scrap metal will sit there for a day, for 5 days, for 2 weeks, and someone will eventually take it. A lot of times with what I'm doing, there is a time limit. The house has to be emptied by. So I said to the homeowners, I said, while there are guys that will take free metal, what if I told him that you were going to give them $50 to carry it away first, or $100? I said, rather than pay several $100s to cart this off your property so that it's gone as you need it to be, you pay someone $50, $100 to come and take it. And they're like, oh, and they see the wisdom of that. I've tried to make this as seamless and have a great flow as possible. I have the charities in first, halfway through the day, then the pickers come. I have a lovely picker who does stuff, sends stuff back to her country, sends stuff to members of her parish, and she takes things that I think no one's going to take this. No one is going to take this. This is just going to be a piece of crap. This is going to be something that I've got to chop up into pieces or put in a dumpster, and she'll take it. The one I always bring up is I had in one room, like the only thing I had left in a room was this beautiful dresser and a box of wires that I had gleaned from all over the house. The dresser stood most of the day before someone took it, but man, people were wrestling over those box of wires. People want what they want. And a big thing that I do, and it's how I've gotten my name out, particularly in my community, is I use the space between my sidewalk and my curb and put all kinds of stuff from any kind of, house clean out, and it's on my curb, and I'll go inside and make a cup of coffee. And by the time I turn around, the stuff on my curb is gone. And now, people take that stuff. I'll be out gardening and people will go, "Oh, you got nothing today?"
So you've created like a local thing where like they know that.
Yeah, and nothing's ever there long enough that, I'm looking like Sanford and Son, It's just the stuff there like sort of disappears. Works really well.
That's amazing.
And then when those people, I always say, "Hey, listen, if you're looking for something, I know you just picked up this, toaster off my curb. Here's my card. If you're ever in need of anything, let me know." And I tell them about the picks. I've increased the number of pickers I have by just those people that pluck stuff from in front of my house.
Wow. So what's the timeline from like when you were doing it for free to how it became a business and then to today presently?
I'm going into like 6 years now, and I would say, I was really doing it as something I did, spot work here and there, and now I work pretty consistently doing this. And in the last 6 months to a year, it's become something that I have another guy that comes in because, me doing it alone, that's a certain amount of hours, and there's some like, there's money to be made for me in that. But with two guys, I get things done twice as fast, so I can do 2 jobs in a day, or I can do 2 jobs over 3 days, going back and forth to them, that sort of thing. It works really well. And now I have a guy out in Suffolk that works with me when I want to work. I have some guys in Nassau. I have a guy in New Jersey. My brother up in Massachusetts is interested in getting his start doing this too, because he sees that it's working for me. And basically, rather than a franchise, what I've done is create a satellite so that, I have pickers coming from Nassau over to Queens. I have a metal guy going from Suffolk over to Brooklyn, that kind of guy, because it's needed. And the pickers are shared, and the metal guys are shared, and the truckers are shared, and we all benefit by having a location in one area or not.
That's incredible. It's that sounds very well organized. And I see it. I see how it works.
I feel like it is, and I feel like that's completely accidental. It kind of like fell into position really well. And some people will say it's my theater background, because you just got to be able to an insane amount of planning, to do anything like that. And you just need to think on your feet very quickly, and that's what I did. And no one's more floored about this than I am.
Yeah. So now how's your like schedule been? Like, is it starting to become like where like, you're consistently looking for people to work, or like it's just enough right now that you can continue to do it with one other person?
The minute I find someone, I'll immediately try and find a second guy. So the minute I found a guy to do, to claim metal, I said, I got to have another guy, because inevitably that guy is available 80% of the time, and the 20% he's not, you really need him there. So I need a second guy, to go, okay, guy A can't be there today, but I can get guy B, So I have, since I got like serious about this, I said, I just want to ever expand my resources. And what's weird is my charities and my pickers are resources. So I keep trying to find depth of it. I go to networking events, but I also go to, a local church and just go, I do this. Do you know anyone that needs it? I'll say to a client that I'm working for, the moment I see I can't have you here Sunday because I go to church. Oh, what church do you go to? Sometimes parishioners need stuff like this. And in that whole, deal I had going with the universe, my feeling is that I try and throw in 1 job a week I do for like nothing or for little, for someone who really, really needs it. Someone doesn't have anyone, someone literally doesn't have a son or a husband to help them through things. I like to throw that job in for nothing. It makes me feel better to do.
Yeah, no, of course. I can relate to that, definitely. So it's all kind of works in, because Gary actually owned antique stores. So I'm sure Gary's probably had a lot of these stories as well. People didn't want to get rid of certain things.
I once was approached by 2 sisters who had like 4 spaces at a storage spaces in Mineola, and they wanted to, and they also had like a double garage at their own house that was filled because their parents had 2 antique stores. And they were like, how are we going to get rid of this? And when they opened the doors of the storage spaces, they said to me, you know what this is, Lon? This is what we refer to as karmic garbage. This is what we have to pay for what we did to our parents. You know, and it's kind of true. There's a great New Yorker cartoon where there's a man with a walker, and he's standing next to a much younger man, and they're standing in front of a garage, and it's open, and it's packed to the rafters. And the old man says, you know, son, someday all of this will be yours. and that's what happens. And I even began to find people who are like, you know, I went through this with my mother-in-law, and I say this, and I'm not going to do this to my own parents. And there are people that are trying to, you know, cut down and purge. I think the idea that there are junk removal services that are advertised when there weren't 5 years ago gives people the idea of doing this. You know,
yeah.
Not people never did, but I think it's a thing people do now. You know, and people feel comfortable hiring. I think it was a thing that sons and husbands would do. It's like, you know, clean out the garage, you know, and they were supposed to, and they either did poorly or they never did. I always say, you know, anything that I do, you guys can do. The thing is, I do it every day, so I'm more versed in it, you know. I don't do what you do, and for me to get up to speed on what you do, I'd have to do it all the time, you know. But it's my business to do it all the time. So I have a pretty efficient system of doing it. And that includes the psychology of it, of getting people to calm down. And very honestly, if you're moving your mother into a smaller place and she wants to take 80% of what she wants into a space that's, you know, 70% smaller than what she's living in, you're not going to be able to tell her. But often I can. You know what I mean? It doesn't make me have a superpower. That's simple, you know, human relations.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna listen to you, and lovely boy that you are, you're still the idiot son, you know. But Lon knows what he's talking about because he does this for a business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't throw you under the bus to do it. You know, it's not necessary. It's just like, you know, we're gonna have to do this, and you know, here you are. You know, you have from today to the day it needs to be done. And if you're not doing stuff all the time in between, it's all going to get crammed in the end, and more stuff's going to get destroyed, and more stuff's not going to get used. And you sort of use that philosophy. You just kind of keep it calm. And my wife says that I'm really good at that. I'm the guy that in the room goes, all right, okay, everyone, just keep it easy. We're good.
Did you see yourself going into business, like while you were teaching for 20 years? Like, did you think one day I'm going to be doing something on my own?
No, never thought it. This is all completely accidental. That day when they said, "Oh, you clean out apartments for a living," and I said yes, I just thought I'd pick up a couple more jobs. That's literally what I thought. That's it.
And then it just went from there.
And what's weird is it's become necessary. I kind of have the financial need to, you know, the world. Listen, I worked through COVID because I was in empty houses. You know. I was in a place that allowed me to work without endangering my wife, who has an immune issue, which is part of why she was sick. You know, it all worked out very well.
So now, if there's one thing you could say to an entrepreneur who's just getting started, or someone with an idea of creating a small business, what would it be?
Well, first of all, seek out anyone else that's doing it and say, how could I do it? Not necessarily better, just different. How could I approach this from another angle? You know, because that's what I did. I didn't invent what I do. What I do has been done by many people for many years. That's not the problem. You just have to find your angle into it. You know, there's only 8 notes in the scale, or 13 notes if you include chromatics. Every piece of music in the world is based on those notes, you know? So the pieces are all the same. There's only 26 letters, but man, people write new things, and they write about the same things, but they write about it differently.
Yeah.
Or they write it, you know, and so that you just have to find the new combination. You have to find the new way in. I think that's really, and the other thing is that, see, I think I did something in what I was told about business the opposite way that I have on the side of my car the picture. I don't know if you've seen my business card with me with the wings. Have you?
Yeah,
Have you
I
seen
saw it on
all?
your Facebook page.
Okay, I have that on the side of my car, and it says, "When you're too tired, too busy, don't want to, don't know how." And I'll be at a red light, and someone will ask me to roll my window down. And I go, "What does it mean?" And I said, "Well, what do you need?" I'm like, what do you mean? I said, "Everyone needs something. What do you need?" And 9 times out of 10, they'll tell me something, and I can come back with an answer. It may not be a neighborhood angel kind of thing, but I come back with an answer because everyone needs problems solved.
Yeah.
That's what they need. I solve problems. And someone once said to me, "You be very specific about what you do. Don't say that you do junk removal and this and that and this and that." And I went the opposite way. I don't say what I do. I just start a conversation, which for me has made my, marketing, if you want to call it marketing, because it isn't, my word of mouth, how I do that. It's just like, in someone's conversation, they'll go this and they'll go, and I'll solve a problem for them. And they'll go, "Thank you." And I went, "Oh, yeah, it's what I do." And they'll go, "What do you mean?" And then it opens the conversation.
Yeah.
You solve people's problems, they'll listen to you,
Yeah.
So now, if there's one thing
yeah.
you could say to a future client, what would it be?
To a future client. Well, that the reason I went into this business was something of the heart, and I can't tell you, this is going to sound bizarre, the fun I have helping people do this. Because I think people are in a situation that they think they can't escape from. I get to be a superhero. Come on, I come in and I solve this thing that seems insolvable to them. That's great. And I like people, so I just kind of like, what I do. I like helping, and I think it shows. And I think, if you want to feel comfortable about what it is that you're doing in this situation, like I've said before, it's really difficult to get through. You should have someone, hey, everyone needs an angel now and then. I'm literally one, in my own way.
That's incredible.
That's great, Sal. That's great. Okay.
So how can our people in the audience reach you?
I'm available at my cell phone, and on the cell only because I always use the expression knee deep in someone's garbage. I'm always knee deep in someone's garbage, so I can't pop up the phone. Always best to text me, but please feel free to text me at 646-996-6231. And then my email for the business is theneighborhoodangel, all one word, no capitals, @gmail.com.
Okay, we're going to have Lon's information in the description box below. So if you haven't already, go into the description box, check out some of Lon's work. There's a ton of testimonials here.
Also, they can take a look at my Facebook page, which I think is the best representation of me on page. I am on Instagram as well, just as Neighborhood Angel. The Facebook page is The Neighborhood Angel.
Okay, so we're going to put all that information in the box down below. Again, I want to give a very special thank you to Lon for coming on the show and telling us about what he does. Along with that, I want to thank the audience for the continued support from the community. This is episode number 10. We do not feel like stopping anytime soon. Gary, how you feel?
Great. I'm glad. Everything was wonderful. Nice to meet you, Lon, and let's stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let us know what kind of feedback you get. Definitely. So we're going to wrap this episode up. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a comment, rate, subscribe. If you want to donate to the channel, go to the lidailyroast.com. There's a bunch of merchandise there. It helps us out a lot to continue to create content for everyone. Other than that, everybody have a good night. Thank you for watching the Long Island Daily Roast.